Welcome to the Sam and Joe VA Show, where we teach women just like you how to create your very own in-demand virtual assistant business.
We're your hosts, Sam and Joe, and get ready to have the control, flexibility, and freedom you've always dreamed of.
Welcome to episode 34, Stop Giving Away Your Time for Free.
Please stop. If you are giving away your time for free, in fact, a lot of people don't even realize they are giving away their time for free. Whether you realize it or not, if you are doing this, you are on a fast track to overwhelm, burnout, and basically running an unprofitable business.
Absolutely. And I think most people who maybe even saw the title of this was like, oh, of course, I don't give away my time for free.
Yeah.
But actually, there are little hidden ways to be giving away your time for free and not even realize it.
Yeah, so let's save the little hidden ones. We'll start talking about the really obvious ones first, I reckon. We'll get the obvious ones that everyone knows about. And one of those would be freebie jobs for friends and family.
So often this happens. And I can see we want to do nice things for our friends and family. And what we don't do is value our time and value what we actually do for them. And I find that when you do things for free, they don't value what you've done, the time that it took, and it then sets a precedent for it to be free forever.
It sure does.
I always say that word wrong. Lance is going to kill me when he listens to this, my husband. He's like, it's not precedent. Precedent or precedence? Yeah, it's precedence.
Is it ints? I didn't know that. I thought it was int. Oh, there you go.
You know the word. Everyone knows the word.
We knew what you meant. Yeah, we knew what you meant. Yeah, and the same goes for giving away time for free with charities, whether it's friends, family, charities, not-for-profits. You are setting up their expectation to be every single time you help them from then on, it is going to be free. And as you said, I mean, this has happened to me more times than I can count, not with friends and family as much, but definitely pro bono work. When people get stuff for free, they do not value it. So these projects always drag out unless you set some really clear boundaries around them, which is what I learned to do. But, you know, we all like to give back to the community. I think it's a really good thing to do. So what I started doing is picking one charity or not-for-profit a year, and I do one project per year. Where I don't charge, and I pick something that is actually meaningful for me. So it's not just the first charity or not-for-profit that comes knocking at the door. It has to actually mean something to me or my extended family. And so for me personally, that's a good way of making sure that I'm not doing a pro bono project once a month. It's only once a year.
Yeah, and you, like you say, you have very clear expectations and boundaries around that, so that it doesn't drag on. And then can you just do this and this and this and this?
Yeah. You need to let them know really, really early on before you start any work exactly what it is you're doing. If there's a number of hours involved, right, I'm going to give you 20 hours free, 10 hours free, or a reduced rate if that's what you decide to do rather than completely pro bono. I think some virtual assistants think that, actually I know a lot of virtual assistants that have different rates for not-for-profit organizations, which doesn't sit right with me. But that's their business, and if that's what they want to do, then that's fine. But I think there's this kind of expectation with not-for-profits that none of them have any money at all. So they all need, discounts, and they all need free things. But in actual fact, some not-for-profits do really well, and they do have the funds to pay people for their services.
Yep, absolutely. I think it shouldn't just be an expectation that you have to do a reduced rate for a not-for-profit, because if you're doing something for free, then you're actually the charity. So you
Yeah.
need to be comfortable that you're the charity in that case. And like you say, so Sam, you limit it to 1 per year, and
Mhm.
then you do that charity work for them. So yeah.
Yeah. Yep, you're not a charity, you are a business and you are there to make money. Okay, so we talked about freebies, we talked about discounts for not-for-profits. Um, so now let's go on to the types of things that mean you're giving away your time for free without even realizing it.
Mhm.
And a lot of that comes around to time tracking, doesn't it?
Absolutely. 2 things. I think time tracking, and the other one is when you're estimating how long something takes. Yeah.
Yes.
So the time tracking, absolutely, you need to get a time tracking tool, and there are some free options. Toggle Track has a free option. I think Harvest even has a free option. Now, Harvest is the paid tool that I use with my team, and all of my team members track their time completely live. They turn their timer on and off throughout the day, and so that there's no, every minute here and there actually adds up to a lot on an annual basis. So you want to be putting the timer on as soon as you decide that you're about to start the work. So you put the timer
Yeah.
on, write some notes in, and then you log in, you do your planning, thinking, however you do that, notebook or Trello, and you're working out what you need to do, coming up with some ideas, researching things, thinking about things. Even though you're not necessarily tapping on your keyboard, doesn't mean that you're not working and you're not
Mm.
providing value. Like, you absolutely are doing a really valuable job for them, and you'll do a better job if you do planning and thinking time. So it benefits them 100% if you're tracking all of your time.
Yeah, now this is something that a lot of VAs, especially when they're new to the industry, it's tough for them to get their head around, though, isn't it? It's tough for them to be tracking all of those little extras. If they're not typing or not actually creating something on their laptop, they feel really guilty around charging for that time.
Mhm.
But it's your time and you're spending it on that client, so you should
And
be charging them.
absolutely, if you weren't doing the thinking time, you wouldn't do a very good job.
Yeah.
So it's all part of it. It's all part of you providing that service to them. And I think we all need to get over the guilt of having our timer on. So have your timer on, have it in the background, work away, work efficiently, have the right tools, have the right equipment so that you can do an efficient job, and streamline things and implement automation and things that speed things up. But don't feel guilty about having your timer on.
Mm.
You need to have your timer on the whole time that you're working on that client. Otherwise, you're just, working for free.
Yes. Another trap we see virtual assistants fall into when it comes to things that they don't charge for. Sometimes catch-ups. I had a conversation recently with a virtual assistant, and she'd never charged for any of her catch-ups with clients, her coffee dates with clients. She'd never ever done that before. I
And
mean,
I bet they
weigh
talked
it
about,
up.
I bet they talked about the client's goals, projects, tasks, improvements, like all of that valuable stuff. It's all part of this relationship with a client.
I sure did. I mean, replying to clients' emails or messages or texts even should
Yeah,
be charging.
absolutely. And if you're worried about what you would write in the timesheet, because I hope everyone does like actually track their
Mhm.
time and put notes in. It's really important so that when your client gets their invoice, they can see and they understand all of that, like it's a memory jogger for them of all the things that you did over the month, because they won't remember.
No.
So you need to take really good notes, and that calls and the messages and stuff, you could just talk about project management as sometimes what we write in there, or communication with clients, or
Mhm.
liaising, that sort of stuff. So it's all part of it. It's all part of, you could write planning, that sort of stuff. Write those in those notes.
Yeah, and if you're unsure or feel really uncomfortable, once again, it's about communication. We say this all the time, don't we, Joe? Communicate,
Mhm.
communicate, communicate. Have this conversation and talk about all these things that we've just listed off with the client right up front, before they sign the contract, before you start doing any work, and then you're both on the same page. You know what you're going to be charging for, and there's no surprises at the client's end.
Mm. I think another thing virtual assistants do is they don't charge for the handover meeting, which is a
Mm.
really key part of establishing tasks, who's going to do what, how it's going to work, how you're going to communicate. And so make sure that when you are scheduling that handover meeting or in the sales process, they sign knowing that the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to have a handover with you and it's going to be a charged meeting. And you just need to actually just be upfront with them. We have never had a client who's had any issue with that. And we always let them know, right? So the first thing is going to be a handover meeting. It's going to be charged. This is what we're going to go through. They're just like, okay, that's how it works. So that's what we do.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an important meeting. It's you don't want to feel as though you're rushing through it because you're giving it away for free.
Yeah.
It's key.
Mm-mm. Another one is travel time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important that you figure out what your model is going to be in terms of travel. So if you need to travel on site to a client or to a meeting, or you're taking minutes or something like that, or going to their office, you need to figure out first, but then agree with the client how that's going to be charged for. So in my business, I have a separate rate for on site. And so that incorporates and covers travel time. There's a minimum of 3 hours on site. So I know that I can then cover the half an hour either side for travel or whatever it needs to be. So just make sure that you've thought about that before you agree to doing any on-site work. So you do not want to be losing a couple of hours just because you haven't had that conversation up front. Next one. This is all around the estimating and quoting of fixed fee and creating packages.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be, so as the business owner, as the virtual assistant business owner, you're going to spend a substantial amount of time talking to leads, doing the proposal, getting them signed up, setting them up in your system, doing the invoicing, and all of this upfront time that you're not going to charge to the client. But if you are doing any fixed fee or any packages, it needs to incorporate some time for that type of thing. So if you're doing a fixed fee, let's say someone comes to you and they're like, can you create me a logo? Now, if you are like, oh, a logo is going to take me 3 hours, let's just say that's not accurate. I don't do logos. I don't know how long it takes. Let's say 3 hours to do a logo. It's then going to take you half an hour talking to that client, doing, half an hour to do a proposal, even before they actually sign the proposal. And, getting them set up in your system once they've started, and then doing the logo work, going back, doing iterations, and then, making them into the right file types, providing them to them. They may not be able to get access or know how to use Dropbox. So then you're going to have to talk about how you get access into Dropbox. And so all of that time needs to be incorporated into your fixed fee. Because if you only charge or estimate 3 hours, and then the rest of the time around that takes another 2, that's 5 hours. You've just then worked from potentially, $15 an hour. It just doesn't make commercial sense. So you have to include all of that. Any upfront time, travel, anything needs to be included in that fixed fee.
It does, absolutely. And this is, once again, this is where your time tracking tool is going to be your best friend. There is no point even setting those packages, the price around those packages up, until you've accurately timed doing it for somebody else, doing all of those steps, so you know exactly how everything is taking you from start to finish, and then you can accurately put a price on that package. As you said, otherwise you probably wouldn't even think about all that back and forth and the prep work involved.
Yeah. It's so much lost time and unbilled time. And, it just can be really disheartening when you get to the end of the month and you're like, but I worked so many hours and I only earned this much. Why is this happening? This is why, because you are not incorporating all of that lost time into your fixed fees and your packages. And do one on an hourly rate first. If you're going to create some packages, so that you can figure out this stuff and then create a package from that. With the fixed fees, look, you might really underestimate the first one, but just make sure, even if you lose money on the first one, make sure that you track it from the very first sales conversation, that lead inquiry, all the way through to invoicing them. Make sure that you track all of that to that project so that you can see what the real true cost and time is. Because it's disheartening, isn't it, when you're working so hard. These are all places that you're just giving away time for free.
Yep, and I bet you 90% of the virtual assistants listening to this or watching this on YouTube, they won't even realize just how much time that they've been giving away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I hope that helps. Please take a look at how you are tracking your time, what you're including, and go back and have a look at your model. Make sure that you have that on-site rate figured out and you have that contract, you know the terms, and have that all in place so that you're not giving your time away for free. Thanks to everyone for listening to this episode of the Sam and Joe VA Show. If you'd like to find out more, head to the Savvy School website to check out the amazing Members Club and find more free resources.
You can find us at savvyschool.co.nz.